Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Please sit down. Secretary Mel Sarmiento, who I'm sure was paying attention to the complaint with regards to the chemicals. Secretary Sari Coloma, Dr. Dan Lachica, President Director General Lilia de Lima, the BOC Commissioner Bert Lina, who was also paying attention to the question of the import permits, Board of Trustees, members and staff of the Semiconductors and Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation, Inc., honored guests. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Those who have known me since my youth can attest to the irony of my speaking before a gathering of experts in the semiconductor and electronics industry. As a high school student, Latin was replaced with practical electronics, and I was tasked to assemble a radio. Thereupon, I promptly managed to burn 2 fingers with a soldering iron. As if that were not enough, I ended up using so much soldering lead just to try and make the firm connection, only to have my professor the following day say how flimsy the solder was and proceed to remove the component that was witness to my blood, sweat, and tears. Honestly, I wanted to box my professor because I felt like he failed to appreciate the sacrifice that went into assembling that particular radio, which unfortunately was tuned to receive only one station, AM at that. Thankfully, due to the stress-relieving qualities of music, since then I have become a true enthusiast and am equipped, or better equipped, to converse with you using your vocabulary. For instance, as many of you might know, over the past few years, music has become increasingly digitized, whether in terms of recording or playback. This naturally concerns your industry. Digital to analog converters, for instance, utilize semiconductors and various other integrated circuits. Quite recently, I was quite saddened by a review I recently read, which spoke of the termination of a production of a certain chip. The author, who has a preference for multi-bit digital to analog converters, said that he feels the audio world is increasingly becoming a one-bit boat. I mention this primarily because yours is a very competitive industry, where innovation is the name of the game. Semiconductors are in so many devices that we use today. What were previously relatively rudimentary appliances are now getting smarter and smarter. I am told that in certain cases, they are smarter than the people operating them. I need not tell you about all the various uses of your devices, but suffice it to say, there is an increasing pressure to fit more and more computing power into smaller and smaller chips. It reminds me of the importance of gatherings like this, where individuals can share their knowledge on how to move our semiconductors and electronics industry forward. This is the reason why, over the course of my administration, I've always made it a point to attend this event. You have been very able partners in reviving not just the manufacturing sector, but the Philippine economy at large, and consequently in empowering the Filipino people. The evidence of our successful partnership is clear as day, and perhaps the greatest example is your work with the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Time and again, whether here or abroad, I have pointed to our cooperation as one of the best examples of what can be achieved when the public and private sector work together. Last year, I spoke about how TESTA graduated 1,994 scholars for work in your industry, 96% of whom found employment. This year, the number of graduates has grown to 3,423, and we have managed to maintain the employment rate. Rest assured, we remain committed to completing the training of 5,172 scholars, and we will strive to sustain, if not improve, on the employment rate. We also often speak of helping our industries move up the value chain, and I'm proud to say that we have reinforced our words with action. You already know of ADMATEL, or the Advanced Device and Materials Testing Laboratory, which gives electronics companies an option to have failure analysis and materials characterization done here instead of shipping their products abroad to do it. The turnaround time for this process is also much faster. I understand taking only 24 hours compared to 5 to 6 days when done outside the country. The number of companies availing of ADMATEL services have quickly risen from 34 in 2013 to 88 in 2014 and to 179 as of September of this year. And may I add, as warranted, we will increase their facilities. This year, we also integrated the Electronics Product Development Center, which allows for electromagnetic compatibility testing for our electronic products. This means safer products that can more easily meet international standards, and I'm hopeful that you will also avail of the services that EPDC will offer. Whenever I think of the semiconductors and electronics industry in the Philippines, it always confirms my belief in the power of partnerships between government and the private sector. I will only be in office for the next 8 months, and over the course of my term, you have been one of the best partners we could have asked for. You took a chance on us, you trusted that we would be true to our word, you devoted your time and your resources to help us generate the necessary skill sets for the labor you need. You were one of the first to take us up on our offer to help different industries, and our willingness to trust in and work with one another has obviously paid off. Now we can look back with justified smiles on our faces, given all the opportunities we have been able to capitalize on and the foundations we have laid for a future of greater possibilities. Next year, my bosses, the Filipino people, will be voting on whether or not they want to continue the progress we have made. Given all that we have achieved together as one unified nation, I am convinced of their resolve to sustain our upward trajectory born of good governance and reform. My only hope is that when the time comes for me to step down, you will work even more closely with my successor to continue our progress, to move Philippine manufacturing into the global spotlight, and ultimately to allow us to bequeath to future generations a Philippine economy and, more importantly, a Philippine nation that is much more vibrant than we found it. Thank you. Good day.